webinar series. Good morning once again, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on Educare CBT module. So we already know the mission and the vision for this webinar series is to prepare for the next academic session. For today's edition, we'll be exploring the CBT module's new features and capabilities. It's going to appear in two parts. The first part will dwell more on the CBT gap analysis and security features and exploring assessments also. Also giving the upcoming shift to the full CBT for WIEC and NACO, which starts next year, hopefully. So this session is crucial for schools to look into the CBT assessment in order to stay ahead. And I'm excited to share these insights with you this morning. I've got my colleagues who will be facilitating this two-part session in this webinar today. Mr. Henry will go first. He's the one to take the CBT assessment module. Mr. Henry, over to you. Please, let's get started and pay attention. At the end of the two-part sessions, we are going to open the lines for questions, concerns, and clarifications. All right? So let's get started. Over to you, Mr. Henry.
All right, thank you, Mr. Botex. Good morning, everyone. Mr. Botex, can you see my screen?
Yes, very well.
All right, so I'm sure we are all familiar with the platform, so I'm going to go straight into the CBT module. So I'm just going to search for CBT. Click on it. So we are going to start with the CBT setup. So this is from the admins page. So on the CBT setup, I just want to explain to you everything you can see here. So this is majorly where we deal with every security concerns. So you can see the topic setup and test code setup. You don't need to worry about these two tabs because we've already incorporated it to the teachers. So when they're creating their questions, they can tag their questions to topic and create the topics on the fly instead of the admin pre-filling topics for classes and for different subjects. So you basically don't need these two, also the test code. So I'm going to start with the general setup. What this does is when you select the school, then you can see submit after end date. When teachers are creating assessments, which I'm going to show you an example of creating those assessments, if this is toggled on and you set that the end date is probably today at probably 4 p.m., it means that once it is 4 p.m., no one can take the assessment anymore. But what happens if someone comes probably 10 minutes to 4? What happens? And the duration of the assessment is 30 minutes. If you toggle this on, it means that once it is 10 minutes to 4 and the duration is 30 minutes, automatically that person has just 10 minutes left. But if this is off, it means that the person would have the full duration as long as the person came in before the end date. I'm going to explain this more when I'm setting the assessments. Then we have these settings here, disable question bank entry. If this is on and you set the date and time, it means that once it is that date and time, teachers can no longer put in questions on their question bank because it has been locked. So if you want this enabled, you want to prevent, probably you have a deadline for your teachers to set exam questions in their question bank and set the assessments. This is where you can set those things. But if you know you don't use this in your school, there's no need for it. You can always turn it off. Then next on the setup, we have the IP restriction setup. This is basically what we call geofencing. It's more like if you want to restrict the exam within an IP address. For instance, you don't want any external student or someone outside the IP address to take the exams. The IT officer can just put your IP range. The IP range that you want to take is probably in your computer lab. You have the IP range you use. You can just set the start and end. And anybody outside that IP range won't be able to take the assessments. So the most important one you should focus on here is what we have on the other setup. So on the other setup, the security feature we have is the full screen mode. What it means is when you set an exam and a student starts the exam, it takes over the entire screen of the student, meaning the student won't be able to access other tabs or open another application or use the internet to search for the answers or anything. Then, just setting this alone does not guarantee that the student can exit and go out to check the internet or open other tabs. They have the access to exit that full screen mode during the exam. The system is just going to exit, although the countdown is still going on, but they can use the internet. But the next thing you need to enable to stop them from doing any other thing is enable the submit on full screen exit. So what this does is once the full screen mode is enabled and the student tries to exit the full screen mode, either by using any short code like the escape button or clicking on the Windows button, once they try to exit the full screen mode, the system prompts them that if they go ahead and exit the full screen mode, it is going to stop their exam immediately and score them based on what they've done so far. And if they go ahead to do that, that is the end of the exam for them. It's going to stop the exam and score them based on their latest progress. So these two security feature, full screen mode and submit on full screen exit, is important if you want to use it, although they have their flip side. For instance, what happens if you enable full screen mode and submit on full screen exit? And maybe a student is taking an exam and probably their laptop dies or something happens, their laptop goes off. It means automatically they are done with the exam. They can no longer take it. It has submitted it for them. Only the admin has permission to reset it. I'm going to explain that later, how the admin can reset the exam for them to start all over again. But this is the flip side on the submit on full screen exit. For any reason, even if it's not the student's fault, that they leave that exam, automatically it is submitted and they are scored on what they've done so far. So if you are going to use this, you need to make sure that your systems in the school, you have backup power so that you don't have power issue that a student's laptop went off and they submit. But in few cases, if it happens, of course, the admin has the permission to allow that student start all over again. So that is what this two security feature does. Then you have this single sign-in. What the single sign-in does is if a student probably goes to the exam, starts the exam, and maybe has given their login details to someone else to help them do it as well. You can't take the exam on two different systems. It must be in one system. So if this is turned on and the student has given access to another person to help them with the exam, that person will be able to see the CBT assessment given because the student is already logged in and is already taking the assessment. Then we have the view only teachers question. So by default, as long as teachers have access to other teachers' questions, for instance, if I am the class teacher for year 7 math and I don't teach year 8 math, by default, as long as I teach mathematics, I have access to questions that other mathematics teacher has set in their question bank, and I can use their questions. But if you don't want other teachers to access other teachers teaching the same subject questions, then you just turn this on. It means that you don't teachers won't have access to other teachers and questions in the same subject. Then for this last two up, we have the offline CBT. So offline CBT would be used majorly by schools that does not have stable internet. You don't want the situation whereby you're taking exams and students are complaining that there's no internet connectivity. So we made it in such a way that the admin, the teachers can post their questions, their assessments, and post it to happen offline. Once they post it, the admin will publish those assessments offline and the student can take it without internet connectivity. So I'm going to show you how you can do the offline CBT much later. Then for this general CBT you see here, if you toggle it on, it has nothing to do with the teachers. or the admin is majorly for the HR. So for the HR to conduct assessments for prospective teachers they are planning to employ into the school. That is what this is for. So it doesn't concern the teachers or the admin. It's strictly for the HR module. So this is everything I have shown on the setup. So I'm going to go straight into showing you how teachers can set questions in their question bank and also create assessments. So let me go right into a teacher's page. So I am now displaying a teacher's page. The page you can see right now on your screen is a teacher's page. And this teacher takes biology, teaches all these classes here, biology. So I already have some questions I want to create. And for this teacher to create questions, all she needs to do is come to the CBT section and you have your question bank. So let me explain everything you can see under the CBT module. Question bank is basically where teachers can create all of their questions. They can have a pool of questions. All questions you create on the system is on your question bank. Then you have manage CBT, which is where the system sets assessment for students. And for you to set assessments, you use questions from your question bank to set those assessments. Then results manager is basically where the teacher goes to see the performance of students after they've taken the assessments which they set on the managed CBT. So we are going to start off with the question bank. So I'm going to select the question bank and I'm going to open, I've created some questions I'm going to use. So these are sample questions I want to use so we can see how I can easily create this on the platform. So I'm going to try to split my screen so I can open this side by side. So I'm going to zoom this out. Okay, yes, I think this is okay. Now I've splitted my screen. So to create a question, I'm going to be creating questions for year 7 biology. So currently you can see my question bank is blank. There are no questions on my question bank. Let me zoom this out a little bit. Currently no questions on my question bank. So to add questions, there are two ways you can add questions. You can either add the questions individually or you can add it in bulk. You can import question. If I click on the option to import question, you can download a sample Excel sheet whereby it looks like this when you download it. This is the sample Excel sheet. This is how it looks. When you download it, you can see everything here. I'm going to explain what you can see here, but let's do the individual, adding questions individually so that you will have a better understanding of the Excel sheets. So if I want to add these questions I see here, I'm going to click on New Question, this button here, Add New Question. And we have 4 types of questions on our platform. We have the multiple choice single answer, we have multiple selection, subjective questions, then comprehension questions. So multiple choice single answer is basically, I'm going to use this as an example. I'm going to copy this question, paste it. Of course, you can also type. Then so we have this option where you can tag questions to topic. This is needed, especially during analysis. So I already know the topic this falls under. So this is under characteristics of living things. Then we have this tag. This tag is optional, but the essence is to be able to block questions. For instance, by the time you're adding questions on your question bank, it will get to a point you have over 1,000 questions on your question bank for this particular subject and for this particular class. You don't want to start searching for questions. Probably I want to say all of these questions I'm adding now is for the webinar. So I'm just going to tag it webinar. So I know that these are webinar questions, right? So that is my tag. So to add the answer options, the first option here is movement. And the next here, I have breathing. So you can add as many options as you want. To add more options, I'm just going to click on this add answer option here. So I'm going to add two more. So I'm going to select decay and also select reproduction. So how does the system mark this? For the system to know which is the correct answer, what you need to do is the radio button you can see by the side of the option. That's where you select which is the correct answer. And the correct answer here is decay. So this is how the teacher selects the correct answer. So if you notice in multiple choice single answer, only one option can be the answer, right? But if I switch this to multiple selection, you would notice I can select more than one option to be the answer. So that's the basic difference between multiple choice, single answer, and multiple selection type of question on our platform. So what I'm setting now is a multiple choice, single answer, and not multiple selection. So let me go back to the multiple choice, single answer, and my answer is C. So now I've added this, I'm just going to click on submit. It is that straightforward. So let me pick another question to add. So I'm going to add this one, number 4. I'm going to copy this and paste. So if you notice, the topic is still here. If it's a separate topic, this question I just pasted is still under the same topic. If it's not, I'll cancel this and add a new topic. And I'm still using the same tag, so I don't need to change anything. So I'm just going to copy the answer options and paste. So we have dog, cat. I'm going to add two more, lizard, and cow. And the correct answer here is this. So I'm just going to scroll down and submit. So the next question I'm going to set. So I want to show you an example of a comprehension kind of question. So I'm going to set comprehension question. So comprehension questions are questions that must follow each other. It's just like a comprehension passage. Here you put the comprehension passage, then when you come down, you have questions. You can add as many questions. Question 1, 2, 3, everything will be used to answer the parent question up here. So you basically use it for questions that must follow each other. So let me create a question. So we have this kind of question that this diagram here is being used to answer the questions below. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this diagram. It's easy to add pictures to your questions. You can either just copy the picture and paste, or you use your screenshot too. So I'm going to just open my sniping tool here and select this picture. Once I select it, I'm just going to paste it, Control V. So you can see it is that easy and straightforward to add pictures to your questions. So under the picture, I can say, use the diagram above to answer the questions below. So that's just it. So now this is the parent question. And for me to now add all the questions that should use this diagram to answer, I would now scroll down, come here. You can see question 1. I'll copy the question. So comprehension questions are basically, you just use it for questions that must follow each other. They have a parent question and you use that parent questions to answer the questions below. So I'm just going to do this. So I have added question 1. I've selected which is the correct answer. Then I'm going to add another question, question 2, still under the same question. I'm going to copy this. So this is under the topic for this is skeletal system. So I'm going to change the topic up here. It's no longer classic characteristics of living things. So I'm going to cancel this and add a new topic, skeletal system. So this is done. So coming down, question 1, question 2. So I'm going to enter the options for the second question. So this is just A, B, C, D. So and then I'm going to select which is the correct answer. Then let me just add one more question under this. So question 3. I'm going to copy this. Then enter the answer options. Then select which is the correct answer. So this is basically it. So I'm just going to add only these 3 questions under it, and I'm going to click on submit. And I'm done. So let me just add another question under classification of living things. I'm going to copy this. I just want to add varieties of questions under different topics so that we can see, we can be able to see the analysis parts properly. So I'm going to change this to characteristics of living things and the options at 1 snail. Frog is the correct answer. And spider. Then this is done. So let me just add one more question from a random topic. Cell structure. So I'm going to change the topic. The topic name is cell structure. Answer options. Okay, so I think we are done. So the correct answer is this. So this is basically it. Then the last type of question we have is the subjective question. So subjective questions are what we call theory questions. So theory questions, you put in the question and the student answers it. So what will I say? The question might be, what is a cell? What is a cell? So once you put this, there are 2 ways for students to provide answers to a question. So for theory question, it's either you provide them with a text box where they can type in what the answer is, or the option of a file upload where they can upload a document, a picture, any kind of file as the answer. So most likely is always the text box. And once you put the text box, they type in the answer there. So now we've covered all the different types of questions we have here. So I'm going to add this one. So another thing I didn't mention is, let me add this question first. When you're creating questions, if you notice under the answer options, you have an option to add an explanation to the correct answer. because we go further that not just that when the students are done, they are just saying that they either got this correct or they failed it. You can also explain to them why the correct option is actually right. So you can give them a more detailed explanation. But this is optional if you want to go with it. So now we've covered this. I have created some questions in my question bank. As you can see here, these are different questions I have created on this question bank. Then going back to explain to you the import, if you want to use the import part of the system. So let me go back there. This is the sample Excel sheet that when you download, you're going to see. So if you notice, you can put all your questions under the question column. Then you can see your answer options and you can see correct options. So for this first one here, you can see the options here and you can see correct option. 3 is selected. This is just a sample template guide to guide you on how to put it. So 3 means the answer is Liberia. And you can set difficulty level and you can tag the topics. Then what is the question type? MC. You have this key here. MC means this is a multiple choice question. So question type is MC. If you want to add tags, there's no need for tags of answer type. Then for this next one, you can see the question type is MS. MS, remember MS, I told you more than one option can be the answer. And you can see correct option is 2 and 4, which means the answer is 2 and 4. Then the next question here is SB. SB means subjective question, which is what I told you, theory question, that's SB. And when the students answer it, what is matter? How do you want them to provide the answer? And you will see answer type is T. T means a text box, meaning you provide them a text box for them to type in the answer. And this is another theory question. You can see XB. How do you want them to provide the answer? F. F means file upload. So basically, all I've shown you, adding the questions individually, you can actually add those questions using the Excel sheets if you just follow all the structure that has been laid in place here. So once you've done this, you just upload the Excel sheet and automatically it imports all your questions. So that's straightforward. Again, to import existing questions, you just click on import question. You can download the sample Excel sheet here. Once you fill it, you click on select Excel file. It opens up your file explorer. You select the Excel documents and you click on import and it imports all the questions in the Excel sheet. So now we are done adding the questions. The next thing I'm going to do is go to manage CBT. So right now we are done with everything on the question bank. So manage CBT, like I said, is where the teacher comes to create the assessment for the student. So I want to create the assessment for year 7 now. I'm going to select 7 biology. To create a new assessment, I'm just going to click on this new test button here. And what is the title? The title I'm going to give this is biology test. Biology test. And what code am I going to give it to? I can just give it any code. It doesn't really matter. Then how many marks per question? So marks per question, I'm going to just enter, I want it to be probably 1 mark per question. So each question is a mark. Then we have this option, enable random question selection. If I turn this on, notice it's going to show an extra field below it. So I'm going to turn it on. You can see it just showed me this maximum number of questions. So what this means is if I put maximum number of questions is 5 here, I can go ahead and add probably 50 questions from my question bank. What it does is after I add 50 questions from my question bank and I'm putting the maximum number of questions I want to set is 5, it is randomly going to select 5 questions out of those 50 questions I'm going to add and set for the students. So what it means is each students are likely not going to have the same type of question. So all the students are going to have likely different questions. But if you want the students to do the same question, you don't need to turn this on, you just turn it off, and they're all going to do the same question. Then this option here, enable practice tests, what it does is if I turn this on, it means I want the student to be able to practice this assessment over and over again. Basically, take it over and over again. If this is turned off, it means this is a real assessment. Once they take it once, they can retake it again, over and over again, basically. But if this is turned off like this, it means it is not a practice test. Once they take the assessments, that is all. They can't take it again. Their scores are recorded. So this is majorly used by admissions officer for entrance examination. Anything you want students to just practice over and over again, you use it. So that is what this does. Then we have start date and time and end date and time, and we also have duration. So you use start date and time and end date and time whenever you want all the students to start the exam at the same time. For instance, if I want to set the exam to start probably today or tomorrow or next week, you can set an exam for probably next week or next month, and the students won't be able to take it until that date and time. Even if I want to set the exam for today, if I set this exam for today, which is 31st, I want to set it for, what's the time now? I'll set it for, I'll just set it for 10:05 a.m. It's already above 10:05 a.m. now. So imagine I set this for 2 p.m. It means when I publish this assessment, students won't be able to take this assessment until 2 p.m. today. That is when the system would allow them to take it and start seeing the questions for them to answer. Then end date and time. What this does is any date and time I set here, it means probably if I set this today, at the end date and time to be today at probably 1 p.m. It means once it is 1 p.m. and they've not, any student that has not taken this, they can no longer take it again. Have it in mind, the start date and time and end date and time is different from the duration. The duration of the assessments, you have to set it manually. So I'm going to set this duration to be probably, let me set it to be 20 minutes. 20 minutes, you can set hours, you can set minutes. So if I set this to be 20 minutes and I set the end date and time to be today at 1 p.m., it means any student that comes after 1 p.m. can no longer take this assessment. But what happens if a student comes, by 1:01 p.m., it is gone, they can't take it. But if they come by probably 2 minutes to 1, they can still take this assessment and they're going to have this full 20 minutes duration. But what happens if they come 10 minutes to 1? What happens? Remember what I showed you here? Sorry, let me just go back there. Remember what I showed you on the admin settings. Let me just quickly open that so we can just remember. So what I showed you here under the general setup, submit after end date. If this is turned on and the student came in 10 minutes to the end date and time, what happens is the system automatically shortens their time to be 10 minutes left instead of the 20 minutes duration for the paper. So that's what the system does. So it depends on the school. What approach do you want to take? Do you want, if the student arrived before the end date and time, for them to have the full duration of the paper, or they should just have what is left to the end date and time? So it depends on the school to decide on it. Okay, so moving on. The next thing you have here is, do you want to shuffle the questions? So on this assessment now, all the students are going to be taking the same type of questions. If I toggle on the shuffle question, it means a particular student question 1 might be another student question 5. So if you don't want to shuffle the question, you can turn it off. If you want to shuffle it, you can turn it on. Then you have shuffle answer. Shuffle answer, what it means is someone's option A can be someone else's option C. So it shuffles the answer options. Then for this last two here, if you turn on publish result automatically, what you are telling the system to do as a teacher is when the students are done, you want them to automatically see their score. Also, if you turn this on, allow to view correct answer, it means aside them seeing their score, you want them to see their script and insight on their performance. So for teachers that don't want students to see their score or their script yet, after they are done, you can turn these two off. They won't see their score. If you want them to just see their score, turn only publish result automatically. It means they're only going to see their score, but not their scripts. If you want them to see their scripts, then you turn on the allow to view correct answer. So this is what this two button does. Then under instruction, this is where you type in the instruction for the exam. So I'm just going to type in answer all questions. So yeah, that is the instruction. So once I click on submit, it takes me to the next step. I click on submit, then continue. The next step is it has loaded questions from my question bank for me to use. So the class I'm setting this is for year 7, and you can see all of the questions I have set on my question bank. And you can see there's option of tag here. Remember, I tag most of the questions. You can see even on these questions here, you can see the tag webinar. So if I search for a tag, by the time I have a lot of questions on my question bank, I can just search for question just using the tag, or I can search for question by typing out the question itself. If I search for what is a cell, you can see it has isolated that question. I can add it, or if I want to search using a tag, or use the search filter up here for tag. And if this teacher wants to use question from another class, maybe year 8 biology teacher question, you select the class. If the teacher has set question, you can just filter and you'd also see the questions. So for now, I'm going to use only the question I've added, which are all these questions here. So I'm just going to add all of them because those are the only questions here. So if you notice, remember I said each question is 1 mark each. But what I want to do is for this question, I want to include, no, for the theory question, what is a cell? I don't want it to have the same question as other questions. So I'm going to change the weight mark of this. Instead of 1 mark, this is going to be 5 marks. And I'm going to save. So you're going to notice that this particular question has a different weight mark from the other questions that are objective. So if there are questions you want to have different weight mark, you can always come and edit the marks for that question. So it's going to be different from the general marks you've assigned to every other questions. So now you've done this, once you click on continue, it's going to take you to the student list. No, currently these are all the students in my sample class. And by default, if there are some students you don't want to take this question, this assessment, I can remove them. If I want everyone to take it, I would make sure I tick everyone. I can untick all and select only the person I want to take it. So only people that are ticked that will be able to take this assessment. So if there are people you don't want to take it, you can just uncheck them from this list. So now I am done with this. I'm going to click on update. And that is all. So basically, at this point, I am done setting my question. So I can see all the question here. I'll click on exit. So this is the assessment. As it is now, it has not been published. It has not been published means that students can't see it yet at their end. So it is advised that before you allow students see this assessment, the teacher is advised to preview and also take the test to be sure that everything is in place. So you have the preview option here. Once you click on preview, it gives you the scenario of taking the assessment as a student. So this is basically how students will see the assessment when they are taking it. So because I am a teacher previewing this, the teacher will be able to see the correct answer highlighted and just select which is the correct answer and move. So this is giving you a simulation of how students would see it basically. So you can see for the comprehension question, you can see how the system grouped everything together so that it is easy for the students to see and answer the questions under it. So like I said, comprehension questions are questions that must follow each other. So when you're done, you just click on submit final. You won't be able to see the submit final option unless you come to the last question. Other questions, you won't see the submit final, only on the last question. And if students want to see all the questions on a single page, they have option of review answer and they'll see everything, those they've answered so far. And anyone they've not answered, they can just go to the question and answer them. When they are done, they just click on submit final. So this is basically a preview for the teacher to see what they've set. And if everything is fine, you just click on publish. So once I've clicked on publish, I'll go ahead and click on publish. Sorry, there's something I want to show you before I click on publish. I want to activate something on the admin. So on the admin end, under the other setup, let me activate the security features. So the full screen mode, submit on full screen exit. I'm going to save this. Then I'm also going to activate this offline CBT. So I want to show you something, although there's a video I'm going to refer you to where you see everything that concerns the offline CBT. The offline CBT is currently not enabled, but if I come here as a teacher and I want to click on publish, you will notice there is nothing showing here for me to activate publish it offline, right? So I'm going to show you, I'm going to activate the offline CBT now, and we'll try to click on publish again. So you'll see the option of the offline CBT that will come up. So now I have activated the offline CBT. Going back to that, if I click on publish now, you would notice you can now see the option to publish for offline. If I toggle this on, it means that once I publish this, it is not going to go for the students to take this assessment off online. There is an offline version for them to take it. So if this is going to be done online, you don't need to toggle this on. It should be off. So I want to take this online, so I'm going to leave it off. So I'm going to click on publish. So now this has been published. There's something else I want to show you. So I'm going to create another assessment called Biology Test 2. And in this assessment, I am not going to add a theory question to it. I'm going to add only the objective because I want to show you how the system maps questions that has both objective and theory and how it maps questions that are just theory. So I'm going to just create another assessment, marks per question 1. I'm just going to do this quickly. Answer all questions. So this 20 minutes. Answer all, submit. So I'm going to add all, but I want to remove the theory question I added. Where is it? What is it? So I'm going to remove this and I'm going to continue, updates, go back. So I have created the second one and I'm going to publish it as well. So I now have 2 tests that has been published by this teacher. So right now it's just for the students to take the assessment. So I'm going to take the assessment as a student. So I'm going to go to a student's page. So I'm also going to have my colleague take the assessment as well, Mr. Alex. So I'm going to go to a student's page. I'm logged in as a student. This is a student's page now. So for a student to access the assessment, all they need to do is just click on CBT here, or they can go through the side menu. They have their test manager. So these students can see the 2 tests I have created. There's the biology test and the biology test 2. You can see the biology test has a start date and end date, while the other one I didn't set anything. So let me attempt the first one, the biology test. I'll click on attempt, proceed. So I'm doing this as a student now. At this point, nothing is happening until I click on start. So once I click on start as a student, the timer starts. You can see there's a notice because I have enabled the security feature. Please note that you cannot leave this test once you start. If the student goes ahead and click on start, if you observe, it has taken over the entire screen of my system right now. You can't see any tab, you can't do anything. If I try to exit, you can see what it's asking me. Are you sure you want to submit this test? If I proceed, it's going to score me and I'm going to get 0, but I'm going to cancel and it's going to go back to the full screen mode. Oh, sorry, I clicked on exit. So at this point, it has submitted that test for me without me doing it. I click on exit by mistake. Well, let me attempt the second one. Proceed, start. So answering the question as a student, I'm just going to randomly answer questions. So I don't know if I am answering this correctly, but so now the student is done answering the questions. They can click on review answers and they can see everything they've done. And I'll go ahead and click on submit final, then select yes. So now I am done. My score is 3/7. This student now has the option. You can see there are no pending assessments for me to take. Remember the first one, I made a mistake and exit the full screen mode and it submitted it. And the second one, I took it. So what if it was a mistake and you want this student to still take that first one and mistakenly ended? What the school can do is the admin can come to under the CBT on the admin end, there is the option of admin CBT reset. When you click on admin CBT reset, it allows the admin to reset whatever the student has done to allow the student take it all over again. So I'm going to select the class, year 7, select the subject, that was biology. So this test type means who created the assessment. Was it a teacher or an admin? Because admin can set questions for any student in any class. So now I'm going to come here. This is the one. I'm going to click on the details. So if you notice, this is the test that the student didn't take. This is the test that my colleague took. So I'm going to click on reset so that it will allow me to take it all over again because it was a mistake and submitted mistakenly. So I'm going to click on reset results and it's going to ask for your admin password. So I'm going to type in my password. I'm not sure I remember my password, but let me see. Okay, that's the correct password. So now I have reset the test for that particular student. And if I go back to her page here and she refreshes the page, she will be able to see that assessment for her to take again. So I'm going to attempt this assessment again. Start. So again, what is a cell? So you just answer all questions again. So submit final. So the student is also done taking this now. So students, if you give the student permission to view their script, students can come to the test results to see what they've done. If you notice, this first one that has a theory question, There is no score assigned yet because the theory question needs to be marked by the teacher before the students can see the score. Why the ones done by that does not have a theory question, the student can see the score. They can also see the analysis into their performance as well. So you can see the time the student spent on each question one, question two, like that. Question one took 4 seconds, question two, 5.2 seconds, just like that. Then coming down, the gap analysis. This is the subject topic chart. So looking at this, I can tell that all the questions under cell structure, the student answered everything correctly. There was just one question under cell structure. You can see /1. In skeletal system, there are 3 questions under it. The students answered just 33.3% correct. Then characteristics of living things, the same thing. So you can tell that topics the child needs help in is majorly these two. There are 3 questions under these two, and the students answered this percentage correct. So looking at this, you can tell the topic this child is very good at and the topics the child is struggling with. Then going further down, you can see the child can also see their script. Question one, the correct answer and what they answered correctly. If the teacher had entered the explanation to the correct answer, they would also see it here. Those they failed, they can see they failed it and they can see the correct answer. So they can see everything that the system has mapped. So I'm going to switch to the teacher's page so that we can mark the theory question. So for the teacher to do this, the teacher goes to Results Manager. Here she can see all the students that has taken the assessments, which she created. So I'm going to select here 7 biology. So if I click on this first test detail, biology test, and I scroll down, you can see from the teacher's end, the system has manually marked the objective question. This student had 2/12, while this person had 1/12. The system has marked the objective question, but is yet to mark the theory question. You can see this exclamation here. Manual evaluation of results is required. And the teacher would need to click on Start Evaluation to evaluate the results. But if I go to the other assessment, this biology test 2, you won't see those things because the system didn't detect any theory question. It just marked all objective question. You can see the status is completed. The teacher can just view the result details. So let's go to mark the theory question. So if I come back here, test detail, and I click on evaluate for the students, start evaluation. So the system is going to list out all the scores, all the theory questions here, and you'll be able to see the question, what the student provided as the answer, and there's also an option for the teacher to give correction, where the teacher can give comment, feedback. So remember, I assigned 5 marks to this question. So the teacher is only allowed to assign scores between 0 and 5. So if this student didn't get it correct, I can assign 0 mark, or I can assign, for this demo purpose, I'm just going to assign 3 marks to this student. And the teacher can also type explanation to what the correct answer is. So this is where you type on your explanation, and there are 2 options you can see here. There is save and there's submit final. If I click on save, I'm just saving my progress, meaning I can save and go back, but the system won't do the computation. But if I click on submit final, what I am telling the student, the system, that is, I am done with this, with marking this child script, and it's just going to compute the score and add the objective and the theory score together and give the final score. That is what it does. Then I can mark for the second student, the same thing, assign a mark 1, and I say, I'll just submit final immediately. So basically, this is how you can see the final score has been computed. This is how the system marks theory questions. So theory questions is meant to be evaluated by the subject teachers manually, and they can now assign scores. And this teacher can view the result details. Students can also view the result details now, and they can see the analysis of how the students answer the questions. Basically, everything I said, the time on chart analysis and the gap analysis, which is the subject topic charts. So they can view for individual students, but they can also view for the entire class. If you want to view for the entire class, you click on more detail. So from this place, when you select the test, I can click on here, click for more details. This will show you for the entire class, while this result detail will show you for the individual student. So for the entire class, I'm going to click this, click for more details. So it's showing me the analysis, the average of everything done by the entire class. So anything I'm seeing here is the average for the entire class. So on average, everyone in this class answered the question 1 in 8.35 seconds. And the subject and chart analysis, you're seeing the average for the entire class as well. Then for individual question, what is a cell? I can see that no student in the class answered it correctly. For question 2, 50% of students in this class answered it correctly. So using this information, the teacher will be able to know topics. You can see question 6, 100% answered it correctly. Individual questions, you'll be able to identify questions that majority of people in the class passed or majority failed. You'd also be able to identify topics that majority are comfortable with and majority are not okay with. So this would give you average of the entire class, while you also have option of analyzing individual student performance. So this is basically how the CBT works for students. And the good thing about this is, what if this teacher wants to use this test in one of the assessments of the final report? So let me go to the make report. I'm going to open this in a new tab. If a teacher wants to make reports, for instance, if I select year 7, and these are the assessments in the school. There is CA1, 10, CA2, maximum mark is 10, CA3 is 10, exam is 70. So if the teacher wants to use this to fill for all students, the CBT, you don't need to manually enter the scores for the student. All the teacher needs to do is, from this make reports, the teacher clicks on import from CBT. Take note that the scores for this CBT was over 20. Sorry, let me check what the score is. I think the score was duration question, 7 marks. Yeah, 7 marks. So if this teacher comes here and click on import from CBT, maybe you want to use the CBT assessment to fill in one of the assessments here, or click on import from CBT, you can see the system has indicated that you've given out 2 CBT assessments so far for this class. So which of the assessments do I want to use? Maybe I want to use the first one, or I'll click on the first one, details on the first one, biology test, and it's going to show me the students that took this test, and I can see their score. This first person had 2 over 12, second person 5 over 12. So this assessment was over 12. And where do I want to import it to? If you look up here, your assessment, all the assessment the teacher feels is already up here. I can choose to import it into exam or into any of the CA. Exam is over 70. The good thing is about this is the system would help you either automatically scale up the score or scale it down to suit into where you want to import it to. So this score that is over 12, if I want to import it to exam, if I select exam, and click import selected. I've selected the student that I want to import. If I click on import selected, if you notice, it has automatically converted the score to be over 70. So the 2 over 12 is now 11 over 70. 5 over 12 is now 29 over 70. So your teachers don't need to do any manual conversion or manual filling of the score. So I'm seeing the conversion. I'm just going to click on continue. And you'd notice that if I come back to this report entry, automatically it has filled it for those students under the exam column. This is the first student, exam 12 over 70. This is the second student, 29 over 70. So I can still also decide to fill it in a CA. So I'm going to click on, I'll use the second one and import it into CA1. So I'll use CA1. So I'm going to click on import selected, continue. It has converted it. So you can see it in convert, import. So if I come back to report entry, you can see it has filled in the CA1 for the students. This person had 4 over 10. This person had 1 over 10. So this is an easy way to use the CBT and have your teachers use the scores in any place they want to use it. Then I'm going to go back to the admin to explain some admin settings for you. So I have explained everything under the CBT, under the CBT setup. Then admin question bank is the same thing as the teacher's question bank. This is where admin can create questions and use. Admin test manager is the same thing as the teacher's test manager. This is where admin can create assessments. The admin can create questions for any subjects, for any class. While teachers, when they're creating questions, they're only creating questions to classes they've been assigned to, basically. Then admin result manager, of course, is where admin can come to see the results of people that's taking assessment. So basically the same thing I showed you from the teacher's end, but this is just admin end to see it. Then we have admin intervention. And the major reason you would want to use admin intervention are in cases, a scenario whereby a teacher has set an assessment and the students are done taking it. And after the students are done taking it and it has been marked by the system, you notice that the teacher mistakenly, probably the correct answer is meant to be option A, and the teacher mistakenly selected option B, and all the students, majority of the students failed it. What do you do in such scenario? The system, you can use the admin intervention to have the system remark the script. And all I need to do is I'll come here, admin intervention, select the class. It was a teacher that set it, so I select the teacher, select the class, select the subject, the test code. If I don't know the test code, I can always select all. So then I can click on select the test, click on detail on which of the tests it is. So this opens up all the questions in that particular assessment. So you look for the questions, the particular question that is having that issue, and I'll just click on the edits there. So what you do is, remember, probably the answer was cats and the teacher mistakenly selected lizard. So once you click on select the correct option and update, automatically the system would remark everybody's script and update the score automatically, and everybody can check from their end. So if a teacher makes such mistake, this is where you can come as an admin to make the correction. Then another thing we have is the admin test remark. You might likely not use this, but what this does is in a scenario whereby, take for instance, you didn't enable the security feature of submit on full screen exit, and maybe a system is taking an assessment in a laptop and the laptop dies. Probably the student was almost done and the laptop dies. If the student does not power on that laptop and continue with that same laptop, the student cannot continue from where they stopped in another laptop. So if you want to continue from where you stopped and your duration is you still have enough time in your duration, you can always continue, but you must use the same laptop. If you use another laptop, you will start from the beginning again because the system needs to keep track of the session that you started, and that session is already stored on that laptop you use. So using another laptop is more like starting another session. So if you use another laptop and during the course of you doing it, your duration is over. That is another session you've done. So if the student complained that, okay, the reason I didn't perform so well is I started with one laptop. The system died. There's nothing to power it on. Then I use another laptop. What you can do is if you come to the admin test remark and you select the assessment, the system would detect if there was such case. If I click on detail for that assessment, if the system detects that there's multiple session that the student did in that particular assessment, under this action, you're going to see a button called remark. If you click on remark, you're going to see the multiple section the students did. And you just need to select which of the session you want to use. Maybe he went further in the first session than the second session. So maybe in the first session, his score was 8/10. And in the second session, the score was 3/10. So you decide the one you want to use. But this is in rare occasion. You might hardly use this. In such case, you can decide to reset the student paper for the student to start all over again and the duration to start. I already explained to you what the admin CBT reset does. And what it does is basically if a student has any complaint of anything and you want, based on your discretion, you want the student to retake the assessment, you come to the admin CBT reset, you select the assessment, click on detail on the assessment, you're going to see all the students. You're going to see before you even allow them to restart, you can take informed decision from, you can see by then you won't be saying, if the test is still in progress, is that you're going to be saying dash here. If it was submitted, that's when you see the score. But you'll be able to see the duration the student spent on that particular assessment before it was submitted. So you can use that to judge if you want to reset it for the student to take again, or you tell the students, sorry, you don't want to do it. So basically, this is everything we have on the CBT on our platform. I will take your questions after my colleague is done with his parts on showing you the exams platform. So, Mr. Botex, I'm going to invite Mr. Alex to take the second section.
All right. So thank you so much, Mr. Harry, for taking us through this part of CBT. I hope by now we've gotten more value on how to assess and navigate through Educare CBT. All right. Next, we'll be exploring the Educare exams.educare, and Mr. Alex is in hand to take us through this process. So please, all the hands, we see them. If you've got questions, you can do well to note them down. Immediately after this session, which will take a few minutes, we'll now open for questions. Over to you, Alex.
Thank you so much, Mr. Botex. Okay, so I want to walk us through exams.educare. So this also very extremely helpful tool for our students, our learners. They'll use it for practices for their exams, WAEC, JAM, BASE, SAT, IGCSE, ACT, GRE, and some of these other exciting exams. Currently, we'll have over 10 million users here. So firstly, just to get here, exams.educare.school. So this works both on mobile and also both on desktop and tablets and any of the devices. Just your internet is all you need. So the difference between this one and the one we've demonstrated earlier is this one we've already pre-filled the questions. Yours is just to answer and then play around it. So the first thing is on the platform, once you click on this, the system brings you here. Once you type exams.educare.school, it brings you here. And you can just scroll down a bit to see how it works. Then I want to show us two key parts. One is what a student sees. Then there's another part of the school. You're a teacher, you're a school. You want to be able to monitor what your students are practicing, how they are practicing. You want to be able to be in charge. You want to recharge units for them and some of these other parts. So I'm also going to show you how that one works. So the login I'm going to use first right now is a student login. So if I come in here, I have two options. If I haven't signed up, I can quickly click on sign up, or I will just simply click on login. Any of the options work. Once I click on login, you have different options. So on sign up, if I come here and sign up, if I click on this, I can choose to fill these details. I mean, they are not so necessary, right? If not, I can just come into the dashboard here, click on login, and I'm going to use sign in with Google. So once I click on sign in with Google, here. Most people have Gmail, so you can just pick any of your Gmail accounts. And so I'm going to use Gmail account I linked to students. So if I click on this, it's going to log me in automatically. So this is all you need to do. So in 30 seconds, you can gain access, both on your phone, on your tablets, on your laptops, and everything. So here, I'm going to see questions of different exams. Everything is being ranked here. So you can see different exams available. You can see JAM, WAEC, that's WASE, and then IGCSE, BASE, SAT. You can see ACT, GRE. So let's say I want to do a WAEC practice. So I can just say, okay, for instance, I can say, I want to do WAEC practice. I want to do maybe chemistry. I do chemistry. I can decide to pick a year or just, let me say, just search. Let me even see the years available for chemistry. I can see 2024, 2015, 2016, 2017, 18, 19, 20. So let me just pick the most recent one, which is 2024 chemistry. I can click on this. So once I click on this, system will let me, I'll know 30 minutes, 48 questions, 96 marks, 50 units, that's the cost. So I'm going to click on start. It brings me here. So now I'm going to start. So when I'm starting, it's going to take over my full screen. So I'm simulating a real assessment environment. So once I click on proceed now, it takes over my screen. So now I can answer these questions. I can answer them. I can answer this one. I can pick anything as an answer. I can pick this one. Then I can also pick this one. I can randomly pick questions, right? So I'm going to pick the first 10, next. I can choose to answer. I can choose to skip anyone. So getting to the next 10. So I'm randomly answering this. So I've taken the next 10. I can choose to just answer this number 33. So what you observe here is the system is intelligently studying your pattern. It's studying how long you spend per question. It's studying how you answer them. It's also studying your strengths and your weaknesses. So this is how the system is studying them. I can also pick this. And then now for me to submit, let me just answer the last question. So I must always answer the last question. So once I answer the last question, I can submit. So so you notice I answered these ones and this one and this one, but then I skip these ones. So once I click on submit, notice what's going to happen. I attempted 13 questions. I didn't attempt 35. Yes, I'm not done. I can go back and continue, or I'm done. Once I click I'm done, the system will automatically grade me. So you notice that I only scored 2 over 96. I got 12 was incorrect. 35 unanswered. I attempted 13. And then unattempted 35. So I have two options here. Go back to the main window or view my analysis. So let me click on view detailed analysis. Once I get in here now, you will see some very basic important statistics: the subject, the test, the time I took it, the duration, the percentage mark, and then the mark per question. Then when I scroll down a bit, you can see this pie chart. You can see the total number of unattempted. So majority of the questions I didn't even attempt it. You can see the incorrect, correct, and everything. Then once you go back here, you will see the time I spent per question. If you notice here, when I was this question 33, I was making some explanations. So the system was counting it. So I spent 17.3 seconds. So why are we keen on time per question? Because we also try to compare the time you spent per question to actually the correctness of the question, or whether it's wrong or right, because it helps us to determine the difficulty level per question. Because most of the time, when you spend more time in a question, it's highly likely that it's slightly more difficult than the rest of the questions. So you can see the other ones, some are a bit faster. So these ones, I didn't even spend time. And that's the same thing. Some I didn't answer them at all. You can see that there's no chart. So if I scroll down a bit, you notice that the assessment came across different topics. I have stoichiometry, industrial chemistry, acid, bases, and salt. These are different topics that this particular exam assessment came from. I only got this one, which is organic chemistry. But even in organic chemistry, out of all the questions that came from organic chemistry, I only got 16.67, meaning that I'm still struggling with organic chemistry, because in an ideal sense, once you do this assessment, you'll see how this bar chart is going to show. So you'll now see exactly areas. Like you can see that based on this assessment, I have struggles across almost every single topic in chemistry. But in the real sense, we want you to start seeing, okay, you're having issues with chemical bonding. It is very important. So it helps you to know, okay, I'm struggling with chemical bonding. I'm struggling with atomic structure. I'm struggling with polymer chemistry and the rest. So that is basically how it works. So now I can also now go back to questions and answer. So if I click on questions and answer here, this is still a student. I can see that question I tried to answer. I can see the correct answer. I can see the explanation. So this is where the study comes. We call it assessive method of studying. So you see the explanation, and you can also see why the other ones were wrong. So next time, when you submit this question, you didn't just know why this B was right, you also knew why the other ones were wrong. So you can scroll down again and study every single one. So there are situations whereby we notice that some students are very smart. Let's say this as one of these particular questions were wrong, and the students wants to make a complaint. What the students will do is to click on flag. Once you click on flag, you can put in your reasons. So the expert team behind will definitely evaluate every single flag. And then if it requires correction, they will make the correction and update as well. So this is exactly what you see. You can see all the explanations, how explicit they are, and then the reasons why the other ones were wrong. So this is at a glance what this does. Now, if I want to go back again, now I can pick another assessment and write and practice as much as I want. If I go back to test analysis again, I can also go back to this particular practice I did and still see the details. So I can always go back any point, or I can also export this, right? If I export my answer, somebody wants to see my answer, I can export to the person. Now, there's another interesting part. You are preparing for WIEC. You want to be able to know, you know what, let me know, probably you are getting towards the exam time, you don't have so much time, you want to start focusing on topics that you believe that are going to come out very often. So what we did was, out of all the assessment, we tried to develop patterns. The purpose of patterns is to be able to help students know areas to focus on. So I'm going back to chemistry. I want to compare 3 years, let's say 2017, 18, 19, and let's say 2024. So let me search and compare this pattern. So trying to compare this pattern, if you notice now, you can see that the topic that most questions come out from is organic chemistry, chemical bonding, acid, base, and salt, stoichiometry. I can also start studying patterns across similar years. So I can even remove 2024 and search. So you notice that everything has switched again, but organic chemistry is still top. Stoichiometry and chemical reaction, chemical bonding, laboratory gases, and the rest. So you can see them and the frequency. So this lets you to know that as a student, I need to spend a lot more time trying to make sure I have a strong grip on my organic chemistry, knowing that the likelihood of organic chemistry coming out in this exam is very high. So these are one of the tools that we did to be able to help students prepare much better. So if you notice, I mean, this particular exam that I've written, I mean, this particular tool really, really helped hundreds of thousands of students do very well. So if you come to buy units, I mean, this is not free. So, I mean, if you sign up, you have 300 units, you can practice 2 times. But normally after this, you can, from your dashboard, you can go to buy units, top up. You can choose to buy, either you buy direct unit from Twitch app. The minimum you can buy is 5,000 watt unit. You can type in the figure and then you click on buy to pop up a system for you to pay, or you buy voucher. You can buy voucher, which will make you recharge it later, right? So if you buy voucher, that can also work. So this is what a student, so as a student, once you come in here, you can easily buy. Then you can refer your other students. They can invite, copy this code, invite others. The good thing here is that once you invite people, the system always rewards you with a 50 unit to help you practice more. Now I talked about the students part, right? There's another part which I'm going to log out now. Let's talk about the school. So as a school, I want to be in charge of what my students are practicing. I want to know what they are doing. So I'm going to now sign up, join as a partner. So on the dashboard here, as a school, as a teacher who don't want to practice, you just want to observe and study your class or your student, you have to click on become a partner. When you click on become a partner, you have to join. So it's being a partner comes at no fee. So once you click on join now, the same method, I can join, I can simply log in. So once I click on this, I already have an account linked to this. I can just log in here. So once I log in here, it's going to take me to a partner account. Notice something. This particular interface is different. It's different from what you are used to know. So here, you won't be able to do any assessment. We assume you're a school or a teacher or like an NGO that wants to support people, that wants to ensure that they're doing their practices, you are in control. So here you can see the total number of subscribed learners, people who have practiced, who haven't practiced, total number of exam practice, total number of exams completed. So now, how do I invite members? If I click on invite members here, this is my code. I can copy this code. I can click on copy here or just copy this code. Once I give it to the student, even if you're already logged in, if I want to link you to my profile, I'll give you this code. Once you hit this code and log in through this code, automatically your profile will be linked to me. Or if you're just a fresh person, log in with this code and everything is linked to me. That is one. Secondly, I can see my user list. So these are my students, either students in my school or everything. So these are my students that are linked to my profile here. These are my students. So all the activities and practice, I will definitely monitor them in real time. Test analysis. As they're doing their practices, I can see exactly what they're doing. The last assessment they did, I can view the analysis myself. Every single thing any child linked to my account is doing, I can see it myself without them even knowing. Now, if I want to top up units for them, the one I showed you as a singular student, I want to top up unit for my student, SS3 student, SS2 student. I mean, I don't have to tell them to log in and keep topping up one after the other. I can come in here, either I want to do direct payment. What direct payment means is once I buy these units for them, automatically credits their profile. Or I can simply buy vouchers for them, give it to them to add the vouchers. So if I want to do direct payment, I'm buying 5,000. That's the minimum each. I'm doing for these 3 persons. Once I do for these 3 persons, automatically you can see how the system have done the addition for it. So once I click on this, I can make payment. Automatically they will have their unit. It's just as simple as that. So with this now, you can see your transactions as well. So with this now, your students can practice for all these exams. Every day we study, we keep improving and adding more exams, assessments, so that it can help them practice. So combining tools, several tools, and using this extremely powerful tool will make it a lot easier for your students to actually practice for the exams. Remember, WIEC, JAM, everybody is going through CBT, NECO, and the rest. So using these tools makes it easy for them to familiarize very frequently with what the true exam environment looks like, and they can use it to study. So thank you. So Mr. Henry, I think at this point you need to come so that you can handle the rest of the questions. Thank you so much, Mr. Potter.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Alex and Mr. Henry, for the deep dive in Educare CBT and exams platform. All right. We've got so many questions. I know people are anxious to speak. Okay, so it's time for Q&A. All right. Why we are going to be calling up people to take questions, to come up with their questions, I'd like to briefly look through the chat. The first we'll have there, okay, this is attended to. Please, we want to, Mr. Henry, I hope you're there, please.
Yes,
Please,
I'm there.
we want you to assist in activating, allowing an assessment to be given to more than one class at a time without having to repeat process for the class again. That's
Okay,
from.
let me address that. Um, let me address that. So, can we still see my screen? If you want to give more than one class, for instance, if in your school, year 7, you have different classes under year 7, what you need to let your admin do is under subjects, the admin needs to make you the subject head. You're going to see, sorry, let me just search for subject. So under subject, you're going to see assign subject head. So anybody assigned as the subject head, for instance, if I select biology, if I assign biology subject head to be Daniel Taylor, and I save, it means this person can set questions for the entire class. in year 7. And to do that, sorry, let me see who is assigned as biology. We am logged in as. Hold on. Okay, I'm logging as Sarah Miller. So let me assign her as the subject head so I can just briefly show you. I'm going to search for her. So now I have assigned her as the subject head. If she wants to create assessment for the entire class and she goes to her CBT, manage CBT, which is where she comes to create assessments. If you notice, before I added her as a subject head, she only had access to test/assessment. There was no options for this drop down. But now I have added her as a subject head. She now has the option of selecting examination. And this examination basically means you're selecting the entire year group and no longer a class. Notice if I switch this to test/assessment, this year group, this is what you can see here is class. But if I switch it to examination, what you can see here is year group. Year group means the entire year group. So once you set it, it is available for everybody under that year group. So this is how you can take care of that question.
All right, thank you. I hope that solves the concerns of Hamzat Adeni. Okay, one more from the chat, and then we go on to allow people to speak. Michael Olatunji wrote, "Good morning. Can the security feature for objective questions be activated for theory questions? Is it also possible to make it impossible for questions to copy text from an exam page?" Did you get that?
Not really.
Can the security feature for objective questions be activated for theory questions?
Well, for this first one, it's the same thing. You're activating the security feature for everything. It's not separate for objective and theory. Sorry, read the second point they raised again.
Is it also possible to make it impossible for questions to copy text from an exam page?
For questions, I really don't get it. Maybe we'll need to bring the person up.
Okay. So at a point, we can bring him up to speak. Michael Olatunji, you can raise your hand. So first, we have Omonike.
Before you bring up the first person, I want to mention something on the offline CBT. I won't be able to go through the offline CBT, but what you can do is go to our YouTube page. As you can see on the screen, on our YouTube page, you can just search for us, Educare. Search for Educare ERP. You see our page, Educare Tech. Open the page, and we already have a playlist. And in this playlist, we have the CBT, offline CBT playlist. It has itemized every single thing you need to know about the offline CBT. There's the part 1 and part 2. So, and for your offline CBT to work, you need to request, if you want to use it, request through the WhatsApp group chat so we can send you the installation file for the offline CBT and also your school access code because you need to sign up for it to activate your school. So if you're interested in using it, request for those things and use this playlist for the offline CBT to access it. It shows you everything you need to know about the offline CBT. The videos are not long, it's quite straightforward. All right, Mr. Botex, you can go ahead.
All right, so the first we are calling up is Omonike Ogeyimbo. Omonike, you've been asked to unmute. Could you please unmute and speak? Omonike, are you there? All right. You've been asked to unmute. So we go over to Onyinyechi Ndukwe, please. You can unmute and speak.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me? Good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you.
So my school, we have been using the TV test assessment already in my school, but this session we would like to use it for examination. So for our test, we noticed that we're having difficulties with the essay part. So we're using mainly the multi-choice, that's the ABC part. And I want to ask some questions because I remember when we're trying to do our English and language art. So in English and language art, it has actually four subjects in one, like four subjects in one subject. So, like the comprehension part, there are some grade levels when you ask questions in comprehension part, you will need them to explain in typing. They need to type in that in a text box, not really answering it as ABC. So is there a room for that in Educare CBT when it comes to comprehension? That's my first question. Then also, we also notice that to grade questions too, most times you will see that part that says manage CBT. If you choose your grading, that what mark do you want to give for each question? I can say one. Then there are some other stuff questions like in that comprehension. When I put five, most times the total score doesn't really tally with what I'm supposed to grade the student. And I don't know if it's from our own end, so I want to really be clear on it.
I'm
So
sorry,
that's
can
my
you
other
repeat the
question. My
second question? I didn't get that second question properly.
For the second question, I'm asking for grading. So I think I tried one the other time. So in your managed CBT, the total mark for you, you're requested to put in total, like how many marks do you want for each question? Maybe I'll say one. Then that means I want 1 mark for each question. Then there like that comprehension part. I don't know, I might need to mark each question in the comprehension part. So if I'm giving the comprehension a test mark, when I've already given one as total mark for each question, how do I grade the comprehension? You need to understand what I'm trying to ask.
So the comprehension is using the whatever mark you assign to that So imagine in the comprehension you have like 5 questions under it. They all have the same
Okay.
number of mark. If it's 1 mark assigned to the
Oh,
comprehension, meaning each questions under that comprehension is one mark each.
okay.
That's how the
Okay, I
calculation
get it
works.
now.
If you assign 2 marks to the
Okay.
comprehension, each questions under is 2 mark each. Do you get?
Oh, okay. It must tally, yeah, it must tally with what I did to the comprehension.
Yes. Then I've actually
Okay.
forgotten your first question. I wanted to answer. Um, okay, yes, I remember your first question. So your first question was for the comprehension question, for it to allow option for the student to type in the answer and not the answer option. Is that correct?
Yeah, like for upper grade. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
so
upper
for
grade, you don't really give them
comprehension,
to write
so
English.
currently the comprehension only has option for answer options. So we'll add, I think before the start of next session, we'll add option for there'll be a theory aspect of the comprehension question that will allow students type in the answer instead of using
Okay,
the
thank you.
answer option. Do you have more questions?
Yeah. But my last one was on text cloning. So I think now I am on the scene, I understood better. So what we used to do before, any child that needs a test, we end up doing test cloning for that child. So we clone the test for the child. I don't know if it is the same with that one you told us about your new setting up something, and because sometimes when a child makes mistakes and maybe most of the students will not preview their results, their test before submission, and they end up getting 1/10. So we want to research a test for them. We end up going to do test cloning. Does it affect our result analysis? Because we end up doing so many test cloning instead of going back to research, but we did test cloning. I don't know if it has affected our
It
test
doesn't it
analysis.
doesn't affect anything. You're just cloning it. But if you want a particular student to retake a test, like I said, you reset just that student instead of creating a new test. And if you had put
Okay.
in a start and end date before
Mm-hmm.
before you after you reset it, you need to extend the end date so that it will allow the student to be able to take it. So you can just
The
reset.
mistake we're making, we were not really using the part that the part we talked about, like allowing the test to be done once. So most of when we extend the date for the period of the week, we don't end up doing the test at all. regression affecting our marks.
If
What
you
we do, we just put our data.
if you have such difficulties, you're not clear, you can always reach out from the WhatsApp group. Sorry, what school are you from?
Only Bob Verities for Abuja.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Olive Hall Preparatory
Okay,
School,
only
Only
Abuja.
for
call. All right.
Verities.
So if you have any other difficulties, you can always put it on your school's WhatsApp group where we are, and we'll just assist you. All right. Thank you
Thank
All
very
you
right.
much.
so much.
Thank you, Nyechi, for your contribution. Next, we're calling on Rauf. Rauf, if you can unmute.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, this is Raul from Heritage Global Academy.
All right.
Go
Good
ahead.
morning.
So, yeah, I would like to ask some questions as regards the assessment. So, you mentioned that we can import results from our assessment to the results directly. Now, my first question is if I want to work with percentage, take for instance, I want my objective to be 80%, to take 80% of the mark, and the theory to take maybe just 20%, just for instance. So can the system do that before taking it back to the result itself?
Well, what the system is doing is the total of the assessment you've given. It's not separating. Remember, after the theory is marked, it's combining all the scores as a single score. And the conversion is wherever you want to import it to. It scales it up or down to suit. So it's not converting theory separate from objective. Unless if you want to do
Hmm.
that, then you can create the assessment separately, the objective separate from
Okay.
theory.
Okay. Another question is, I can say that for the theory, there is space to impute answer. So what happens in a case whereby I don't want the student to type in the answers? I want them to write it down. So I want them to just see questions only. So it means as they open the theory, it's going to be a page or pages of questions.
I understand.
So is it okay? Is
So
that also possible?
it's the same thing. That's what most schools do because most students might say they're not fast in typing. And if you even give some
Yeah.
questions like mathematic questions, they can't be solving math questions there. So you create your entire question, both objectives and theory. They answer the objectives on the system, and theory, they can answer it on a paper and submit to you. So when you're marking the theory, the same way I open the student, once you open it, it lists out all the theory questions. You're using the paper to score them because when you've marked it on the paper, on the system, you assign the score to each question like that, then submit, and the system remarks all. Is that straightforward?
Yes, I guess. So it means in that case, you will the videos will be able to do their calculation, the reasons not able to do on the system.
Yes, they don't need
All
to
right.
fill in anything on the system for the theory.
Okay. Okay. So another question is you mentioned that if, for instance, an objective question, maybe the option is wrong or there's something wrong with the question, can be affected from the admin's end. So is it something that is immediate? Perhaps it was maybe for one reason or the other, there was an omission of site and the students saw the question, a wrong question in the exam hall. And while they're writing that exam, you also notice that okay, that question is wrong, and you uh, gave a call or you contacted the admin to effect the change. Is it something that can be effected immediately? Probably when the student refresh, the changes will have on their questions, or that's to be a restart.
So the use case I gave on that admin intervention is when a wrong option is selected by the teacher by mistake, and the students have submitted, and the system has failed everyone, and you need to correct it by selecting the right option, that is when you use that. Not a scenario where you're saying, I think the scenario you just gave now is a totally wrong question that is not supposed to be there. So that's not the
No,
scenario.
it could be a wrong option too. Maybe a picking of wrong answer. It could be that.
So the student
Or
can
maybe
know,
there's supposed to be.
yeah, the student can know that is the wrong option if they've not submitted. So I don't know, the example I gave is
Okay.
you have four options. And when the teacher is selecting the one that is the correct option that the system would mark, she mistakenly selected the wrong option instead of maybe she's supposed to select option A as the correct answer, but selected option B. And students has taken the assessment, and when they submitted, they all failed it. And looking at their scripts, they can say,
Mm,
this is supposed to be
this
the
should be the
correct
correct
option,
thing.
but I failed it. And the teacher can see that she mistakenly selected that as the correct answer. In that scenario, you can use the admin intervention and correct it, that change the option to the right one, and automatically and immediately the system remarks it.
It reflects for
Oh,
all this. Okay. Now, the other scenario I was painting was in a case whereby maybe there's not even the right option is not there. So it's obvious that say there's a question that is obvious that this is the answer. But from the list of options, the right option is not there. So on calling the teacher in charge, he or she discovered that oh, this correct, that option is not there.
so if the
It
right
changed from
option
the
is,
admin and
you can't change when an assessment is ongoing. So that's why we
okay.
have the option of teachers to preview their questions
Definitely,
before they
yeah.
publish it to the students. So it's always a policy that you need to enforce, that before you publish questions for your students to take as exam, you as a teacher preview it and take it yourself to be sure that there are no issues. And if you notice, if a teacher is previewing a question, she's seeing the correct answer that she selected, that is the correct answer, highlighted. So if there's any, it's done for a reason. So if there's any mistake, she can identify them and correct on time. So that's why the preview
Okay.
is important.
Okay, and lastly, is there a limitation to the number of questions that can be asked in the objective?
No, there's no limitation.
Oh, okay.
All
And
right,
the
thank
students
you.
are going to see their results immediately for the objective.
Yes, immediately.
All right. Thank you. That's
All right,
all.
thank
I
you,
really
Raul,
appreciate it.
for your contribution. Next, Henry Opute. If you can unmute. Henry Opute. Can you unmute, please? Are you able to unmute? All right. Yes.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I hope you can hear me.
Very well, please. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, it's a good thing that we're having this webinar. I'm sorry I came a bit late. I was busy with one or two things. Okay, a very quick one. I've been seeing lately, or maybe I have not taken my time to really look at it though, but recently I discovered that when teachers set CBT on the platform, apart from going through the admin intervention, I discovered that there are some limitations that the admin level have regarding what the teacher does when it comes to this CBT. For example, if the teacher, a particular teacher sets CBT and publish, I can't really pick the exact place, but I noticed that if I try to go through, let's say maybe the result, I think whether the test manager or so, I cannot from that point assess what a particular teacher has done, or maybe the teacher fails to publish or something like that. The admin cannot solely go on its own, checking what the teacher has done directly, and then probably maybe post it on behalf of the teacher. So I don't know if that can be looked into, because I know there are some areas, like in the terms of the assignments, okay, the assignment parts where you just, upload whatever it is that you have. In that point, you see that admin has every right to even control whatever it is that is happening from the teacher's view. So I don't know why this CBT part is not, seamless as that of the assignment part, that even an admin can see every detail of what the teacher has done and can take correction, or correct whatever it is that the admin wants to correct, or even assist the teacher to post the teacher has done. I'm not saying what the admin now in terms of admin intervention. It's not what I'm talking about. Whatever the teacher has done, can't the admin also have that power, or that permission to actually do some things on behalf of the teacher? I will take another example from the aspect of the results in terms of either high school report or junior school report. I like the way that particular part is structured, such that an admin can go in and make report or enter a score on behalf of the teacher, and there are no restrictions on the admin part. But I noticed that there are some areas I may want to check as an admin person, and there are restrictions saying it's for the teachers only, and it won't open, telling me access denied. I want us to actually look into those areas. Let it be that an admin person have right to control everything that is happening on the platform, irrespective of whether it's a teacher that is doing that or so. I think that's how it's supposed to be. It's just my suggestion anyway. I'm not saying it should be like that. So on this aspect of this CBT, I think I've seen something there before. I can't really place my hand on it now. But I know I've seen a case whereby a teacher sets a test. Apart from going through the admin intervention, I cannot, intervene normally as I do with other ones, except I go through admin intervention. That's my question.
Okay. The question is quite a story, but from what I understood is you basically want to be able to publish basically on behalf of a teacher. Maybe a teacher has created the assessment but did not publish.
Yes, something like that too.
The only thing you see in admin intervention is already published assessment.
Yes.
You cannot see something that is not published. I think all of those things, it was done for a reason, to give the teacher the power to be able to decide, am I ready to publish this yet for students or not? And again, as an admin, remember, you also have the full privilege to log in as any user, as a super user, as anybody you want to, if you want to log into their profile and publish it. So there are instances that was considered that we didn't put that on the admin end, because some teachers might not be ready. If a teacher is ready for students to be able to access it, they would publish it. So for them not to, there might be a reason. And if you want to do it as an admin, I think we intentionally didn't give that access to admin. If you want to do it, you can log into the teacher's page and do it, but not from the admin. There's a reason because decided to do it.
Yes, that said, I perfectly understand what you said, but why I'm actually asking this question is because, sometimes there are some cases where the teacher may, as a result of maybe too encumbered with work and all the rest, probably the teacher may forget to actually publish at the right time the teacher is supposed to publish, and the report gets to the admin. Now, the admin wants to quickly, go out of his or her will to ensure that the operation goes successfully, smoothly run. So I don't need to actually log out and log in as the teacher again and do all of that. I could just use my admin permission and then go ahead, do the publication for this. And sometimes if we try to say, okay, let the admin remain the way they are, let everybody do their job, we also discover that sometimes these teachers too may be in a place where you cannot even be able to reach them, to do this. So these are the few constraints that I am trying to see if something can be done. But if you say we can always log in through the teacher's profile and then do the whole thing. It's fine that way. I just want to be sure that what I've been seeing is exactly the way it is, and it's intentionally programmed like that by Educare. That's just what I want
to. It was actually intentionally.
Okay, fine. It's fine then. It's fine. It's fine then. No problem. It's okay. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Henry.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Henry, for your contribution. Opeyemi, please, you can unmute and speak.